We are coming to the end of the story. Story of Abraham and Sarah. Literally, they're both going to die tonight. So, yeah, at least there's a story here on this earth. Right? But we've been looking at kind of this concept of letting go. Letting things go of this world, our own doubts, our own concerns, our own plans, our own ideas, the way we perceive things, the way the world works, what the world has to offer, just kind of letting go of that. And we've seen that in the life of Abram and Sarai, right? And then Abraham and Sarah. As they left family, left security, went to the promised land. Now, did they always do the right thing? Did they always let go? No. Right? Sometimes they held on to doubts and fears and things like that. It got into all kinds of trouble, like Ishmael. Right? So it causes problems when we hold on to things and don't just follow God's plan. And as we come to the end, I really didn't have a good title for this one. But really what to me is right here at the end is I want to start with God's promise. Right after Abraham did sacrifice Isaac. Now you say, well, he didn't really. No, he did. He had every intention of killing him. Had every intention of going through with it, right? With, again, as Hebrews says, with the idea that God could just raise him back up again or give him a no. I mean, whichever. God's going to keep his promises. I'm just going to do it. We see that great act of faith. But right after that, what does God say? Let's go to Genesis chapter 22, starting in verse 15. Genesis chapter 22, we're going to start in verse 15. Genesis 22:15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. What was the first time? Stop! Okay. First time was stop. Don't do that. And God provided the sacrifice, right? And said, by myself have I sworn. Now, who do you think the angel of the Lord is then? God. It's got to be God. So he's the only one that can swear by himself, right? And said, by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto the young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. So they went home, right? Taking Isaac with them, not dead, right? And took him with them. And you have here God reiterating once again his great promise that all the world will be blessed through you. Because we know who is going to come through the line of Abraham. It is going to be the Christ, the Messiah, Jesus, right? And all the world will be blessed through him. And also it says that he will have descendants like the stars above and the sands of the sea. Not all blood, because who here is a spiritual descendant of Abraham, as it says in the New Testament, right? We all are, and we will all be blessed through him. And this promise comes down to him. Now, the question I have is like, if you're Abraham, it's like what? Done. Right? I did everything God wanted me to, and now I just go on with my life, however many years I've got left. By the way, anybody know how old he was when he died? 175. Or 103 which is a really weird way to say that. 175. He's actually got quite a few years left in him. He's even going to get married again. He's going to have some kids. Anyways, so he's going to do all that stuff, right? So, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of years left. So sometimes in our life, we kind of get that picture, right? I did this big thing for God. I lived for God. I put my faith in God. I trusted God. I got through it. And now what? Yeah, let's just done with that. Now I can just go and live my life. But is that what he wants us to do? Or does he want us to live by faith each and every day? I actually had a conversation like that with somebody recently. It's like, okay, I was talking to them about their faith. And it's like, I've got faith. I know Jesus saved me. I know Jesus saved me. I have faith in God. I know God is there. I know he saved me. I know I'm going to heaven someday. That's enough of my faith. That's what faith is about. It's like, no. Faith is living daily for God. And the big things, the little things, every day, just putting yourself in his will, that's the kind of faith that he wants to have. Now, there's that faith unto salvation, right? And by the way, when did that start for Abraham? When he believed God that he would have a son. Which is lots of ups and downs in this period, right? It didn't start here after the sacrifice. That promise, that faith. But each day, God was still working with him to increase his faith and to strengthen his faith. And the same goes for us. So that we would have faith in the end to do the right thing. Do we have enough faith to in every way, in every relationship, every action, every interaction, to do the right thing? Sometimes yes, sometimes we struggle, right? And what we're going to see here tonight is as we come to the end, we're going to see Abraham, each situation, choosing to do the right thing. And you say, well, of course he did. Well, no, it's not always easy to do the right thing, especially when you're dealing with certain populations and certain people, right? How many agree it's hard to do the right thing with some people? Don't look around. Sometimes it's hard to do the right thing, isn't it? And we're going to see that tonight. And it's going to start with the death of Sarah. Let's go to Genesis chapter 23. Genesis 23. How old did she make it? And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. 127 years old. That's when she passed away. Now, just as a reminder, when did she have Isaac? How old was she? 90, maybe 91 by the time she had him. I'm not sure. But we know pregnant at 90. So I want you to keep that in mind. How old is Isaac when Sarah passed away? 37. She got a good long time. Can you imagine that? I mean, if you're having a child at 90, what are you thinking? What are you going to be able to see? What are you going to be able to do with this child, right? You know, maybe you make it to their 10th birthday, right? You're hoping, cross fingers. She was blessed with being able to spend 37 years with her son, see him grow up into the man that he was supposed to be. See him carted off by his dad to kill at some one point, but that was, that was just a weird episode, but yeah. But yeah, she got 37 years, and now she passes away, verse 2 of chapter 23. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And just a side note, Hebron becomes a major player throughout the history of Israel. In fact, who set up his kingdom in Hebron initially? A guy by the name of David. Before he conquered Jerusalem and then eventually made it its kingdom, he basically spent most of the time, and his kingdom was in Hebron. And then before he went to Jerusalem. So it was kind of originally the city of David, so to speak. And there's a reason for that. Because who's buried in Hebron?
Sarah.
Sarah and Abraham and Isaac and Joseph and Jacob. And so it kind of became that place. How did it become that place? Let's look. And Abraham came to the mount to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, now the sons of Heth are the Hittites. They don't always have a good relationship throughout their history with the Hittites. They are Canaanites, right? They're people of Canaan, right? Now, there's always this question. Abraham moves into their area. You think they would constantly just have an adversarial relationship, right? Me versus them. You're that foreigner. You're that guy. And he look at them and say, well, you're not God's people. I'm God's people. And you just kind of have this constant friction. But that's not what they had. In fact, look at the relationship here. Because he goes to the Hittites in verse 4. I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you that I may bury my dead out of my sight. So a good, solid place, a cave where I can securely put my dead. Okay? Put my wife. And he goes to them and asks that. How does he talk about himself? I'm a sojourner. He's been here since he was 75. Since she was 65, and now it's 120, she's 127. They've been here a long time, but they're still what? We're still foreigners here. We're still the odd man out. You guys have cities, you have villages, you have people, you have family upon family. It's just me. Me, my wife, my son, and our servants. That's it, right? So we are the sojourners, but I would like to have some place of your land. And how does it go? Verse 5. And the children of Heth, the Hittites, answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my Lord. For thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And their response is, take whichever one you want. What does that tell you about the way Abraham has been conducting himself?
Right.
We are in the world, aren't we?
Right.
Does that mean we have to constantly be adversaries? Does that mean we have to constantly be at each other's throats, hating them because we know they hate us, right? It doesn't have to be that way. He conducted his business in an honorable way. And does that make a difference?
Yes.
Yeah, it should. Now, should he live like them and believe like them? No, we're separate. But still, they had a good relationship, right? And they said basically, yeah, choose. Verse 7. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. Again, respect, right? And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat me for Ephron, the son of Zohar. He's got a nice place. That he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place among you. I will pay whatever it's worth, that I may take that burial place. Go talk to Ephraim. Will he give it to me? Will he sell it to me? By the way, it basically means there that he made it for himself, right? He made this. He prepared it for himself. It's like, can I buy it from you? Verse 10. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in and gate of the city, saying. So he's like, in front of everybody, here's my answer. No, wait a minute. Let me read that differently. Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee. No. Again, what kind of relationship do they have? What kind of respect do they have for Abraham? It's tremendous, right? And the cave that is therein, I give it thee, in the presence of the sons of my people, give I it thee, bury thy dead. So Abraham said, steal. Awesome. No. What's the right thing to do here? The right thing is to what? Pay for it. Pay a fair value for it, right? He's not saying he's, better than them. They should give me stuff because I'm God's people, right? He's not taking that kind of attitude. Hey, I would like to buy it. It's the one that looks good to me. You're offering it. I will pay you a fair price. So what does Abraham say? Verse 12. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. And he spake unto Ephron and the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead. If you're willing to give it to me, I will pay you a fair price. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. They keep saying, listen to me. Hearken unto me. Drive me crazy when you're reading it. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between me and you? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron. And Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. So I like that added part. Why did they add that little part? That it was weighed out as you would for a merchant. It was a fair and square. Abraham was making sure he is dealing. Should we do right by others? Yes. Does it matter if they're Christians or not? Does it matter if they're good people or not? We should always deal people rightly, right? Because again, as Peter says, we should never have the world look at us and be against us because we did something wrong, right? If the world is against us because we did something right, right? They should never be able to accuse you. And Abraham is making sure they have no right to ever come back to me. Now, I find it interesting. If you look at the history of this place, again, Sarah's buried there. Later, Abraham's buried there. Isaac is buried there. Jacob's buried there. Interesting thing is, he paid for it again. He paid 100 later on. Why? Everybody go with me. I don't know, but because it was fair. Somebody evidently complained that maybe it wasn't enough, or that nobody kept the deed. Maybe the house burned down or something, and the deed was lost, and weren't quite sure who owned it. And they did it right. I find it interesting also, if you look through the history of this place in Hebron, it has been under dispute between the Muslims and the Christians and the Jews for that. It's in the West Bank. So everybody went, oh. So if you guys at home can't see that. But it has been under dispute. In fact, at this site, for a long time, there was a Jewish synagogue and a Muslim temple on the same mount, because they've been fighting over it. Should have been settled a long time ago. Who owns it? Abraham fair and square, right? He purchased it, and he did right. And this is just living by faith means doing what is right. Always deal with people fairly. Pay people a fair amount for their services, right? Pay your taxes in full. Treat people with respect and honor. Just do the right thing. You say, wait a minute, they're bad people. They're going to do bad things. Who are we trusting to take care of all that? God. God will take care of that, right? So that's what he did, and he paid the fair amount. In fact, look at verse 17. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that are in the field that were in all the borders round about were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth before all that went into the gate of the cities. This was stamped, sealed, and approved. That's why you did business back then. You did it in front of everybody, so everybody would know. There was no computers to keep track of things and things like that. They always turn around and say, were you there? Yes. What did he say? All right, we're good. So everybody, and it was fair and square. And not only just the cave, but all the area around and the forest around it, he purchased it all, right? Verse 19, after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan, and the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. And it was done all up and up. Now, I find it interesting how long it took him 20 verses, an entire chapter of the Bible. There's less talked about many other episodes in the life of Abraham. Why did they go on and on about this? That's what questions I ask in my head. Why do they go on and on about this business transaction? To me, it's because what? This is daily life. Right? In fact, you're probably going to have more instances in your life where you have to deal with business arrangements than you do maybe a Pharaoh taking your wife. I'm guessing. Just guessing. Right? Or having to sacrifice your son. Probably less care. The things in our daily life matter, don't they? Yeah. And how we deal with them matters. So we've got to think about that. And part of this faith and letting go is just, in the end of the day, always make sure you're just doing the right thing. You're doing what is fair according to everybody, right? And do it that right way. Okay, so Sarah's gone. Now you got a problem. You got Isaac, who is now 37 years old and unmarried. So he's got no kids because he's got no wife. So again, Abraham has a decision to make here, right? Sarah's gone. He needs a wife. Where do you go for a wife? Now you look around. The Hittites were real nice. Right? These Canaanite women, there's all kinds of other women, but he knows he has to do what's right for others, right? He has to make sure his son is taken care of and does the right thing. So even he, at 137 years old, is still going, okay, I need to make sure that my son makes a good decision here. So he calls one of his servants, chapter 24. And you're talking about going on and on. This goes on for 67 verses. Because again, this is daily life. Daily life is what? Business arrangements and living your life, right? Before God. And this is just daily life, and he has to make the right decision. Genesis chapter 24, and Abraham was old. Everybody agree with that one? Yes. Anybody can sit here and say, nah, he was a young pup. If you're saying that, you're really old. 37. And well stricken in age, says that phrase again. And the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he has, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh. Anybody else think that's weird? Sure. That's what they did. So when you make a solemn promise, you put your hand under their thigh. I'm glad we don't do that anymore. Handshake, enough. Verse 3, and I will take thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. Now, why is he so emphasizing so? Again, you have to remember, he's 100 and what? 37 years old. His wife just died. Can he think he's got much more time? So his thoughts are what? Isaac is going to need to marry. I'm putting you in charge of making sure he never, ever marries somebody from this land. Why? Because what? Not equally yoked, right? You're not supposed to do that. God brought them out of this land, unto this land, not to be like the land, but to be a light as we were before, right? Same goes for us, right? This is important stuff, how we deal with other people. And he wants to make sure he gets this guy to swear he will never let that happen. And in fact, he gives him a plan. Verse 4, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred and take a wife unto my son Isaac. Once you go back to the land I came from, I've got a brother there, Nahor, Nahor. He's got 8 kids, 8 sons at least, and one of those sons got to have a girl about his age, right? Somewhere around 37 years old. So go there amongst our people who believe in who? God, right? And go and find somebody there. Verse 5, and the servant said unto Abraham, peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? What you want me to go to your family and say, hey, I have the ultimate blind date. This family you haven't seen in forever. Abraham you haven't seen in forever. He's got a son. He's a catch. Believe me. Trust me. Just come, right? He said, good question. What if she don't want to come? What if she's like, I got to see him first? You want me to come back and get Isaac and bring him there? What's his answer? Verse 6. And Abraham said unto him, beware thou that thou bring not my son there again. Never take my son out of the land. Don't take him up there. Because what's his fear? You go there, and then you get married, and then you hang around for a while, and you start, having family and things like that, and you don't get back where? Where are we supposed to be? Who is he concerned about? He's not concerned about himself. He's concerned about Isaac. He wants to make sure Isaac is in the right place where God can bless him, where God wants him to be, and has the right support and family around him, right? Again, he's doing right for others. Do we have to do that sometimes? We got to make some decisions that help other people be where they need to be. And that's what he's doing here. You say, but he's 37 years old. Can't he just pick his own wife? It's like, no. No, because what would he do? Probably pick the best looking one around, right? No, that's not the way it's supposed to be. And he's going to do everything he can to make sure that doesn't happen, or he leave the land. Verse 7, the Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before you, that thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. I am trusting God in this process. I am doing the right thing for him, and God will send an angel, and we'll make sure everything's set up. Don't worry about it. Just go. But if it doesn't happen, don't worry about it. I won't hang this one on you. Okay? In fact, that's what he said, verse 8. And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from my oath. Only bring not my son thither. No matter what, if all the women in our family all say no way until I see him, what's the answer? Well, I'm not bringing him here. Okay? He is so concerned about him, and sometimes we got to do that. We got to help people, don't we? He's trying to help Isaac here. By the way, one of Isaac's son did go and leave the land. How'd that turn out? He went to Laban's house, and some weird things going on up there, right? So he came back though. Let's keep going. Verse 9. The servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master and swore to him concerning that matter. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master and departed, for all the goods of his master were in his hand, and he rose and went to Mesopotamia unto the city of Nahor. Why is it called that? Because that's what his brother's name is. So that's his city, that's his place. And he takes 10 camels and a whole bunch of stuff with him. Right? Verse 11. And he made his camels to kneel down outside of the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go and draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, I pray thee. This guy had learned what? Who do you trust? God. You need help? Who do you turn to? Okay. You feel sorry for this guy a little bit? Go to this land you've never been to, talk to a bunch of people you have no idea, and say, give me a woman. Where do you even start? He's smart enough to start where? Where women hang out. It's like, hey, go to Austin and hang out at grocery stores and find a woman. That's right. That's a little tough, isn't it? So who's he put his trust in? Puts his trust in God. Lord, help me. Help me know who the right one is. Lord, my God of Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. So that whoever I say that to, and she then replies, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac, and thereby shall I know that thou hast showed kindness unto my master. I put it in your hands. Whoever I ask that, if it's the right person, that's what's going to happen. And who comes? What's her name? Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farms. No, that's the No. Rebecca comes, right? And Rebecca comes and she dips her own jar in to get water, and as she's leaving, he says, excuse me, can you please give me to drink? And what does she say? Sure. Yes. And then she says, without prompting, let me also get some for your camels. And he said, she's the one. And as the Bible says, she was pretty too. A little bonus for Isaac, right? So takes care of all that. Let's jump down to verse 23. Well, actually 22. 22. He gives her stuff first. And it came to pass as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of a half shekel weight and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold. So gives her all these gifts for giving water to my camels. Thank you. And by the way, whose daughter are you? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And again, it's not just this guy. He's got a bunch of guys with him. They traveled together. And he got to do something with camels too, right? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. So this is Nahor. That would be her uncle, or Abraham's brother, Isaac's uncle, right? And had, with Milcah, that's the mother, had Rebekah. So this is Isaac's cousin. You got that all right? And by the way down the line, it was Bethuel was the 8th son. So if you're thinking about ages, he was the 8th son, and then had Rebekah down the line. So she's probably around the same age as he is. Verse 25. She said moreover unto him, we have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. So always thinking about the camels. We got room for the camels too. Got plenty for the people too. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped who? The Lord. The Lord. And said, blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brothers. Again, who could it have been? Didn't have to be anybody related to Abraham, but it was. Because an angel went before, and he sought whose instruction? And help? The Lord's, right? God went before. And all this. And her name was Rebekah. And her brother's name was Laban. So Laban sees them coming, all these camels, and sees Rebekah out there, this guy. He also notices all the nice little bling she has now. So, there's something going on, right? So let's jump down the story. Verse 31. Laban said, "Come in, thou blessed of the Lord. Wherefore standest thou without? For I have prepared the house and room for the camels." And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him. And there was set meat before him to eat. But he said, "I will not eat until I have told mine errand." And he said, "Speak on." And then you get the whole story again. "I was talking to my master who called me in, said, put my hand in his egg, make sure Isaac don't never come up here, blah, blah, blah. I was by the well, and I prayed to the Lord." The whole thing over again. Why would he do, again, why so much time on this little story? This could have been shortened up a lot.
Because I want to show you each detail.
The details are important because who's in the details?
God.
Not the devil. Get that out of your head. The devil's not in the details. God's in the details, isn't he? And again, I think these little parts are so important because they are everyday life, aren't they? Again, not necessarily going to get a wife or a husband, but in everything we do. Any kind of, again, business transactions or friendships or, even the way we treat family members, it matters, doesn't it? That we do it the what way? The right way. And so, what happened? Let's jump down to verse 50. Then Laban, the brother of Rebekah, and Bethuel, who's her father, answered and said, "The thing proceedeth from the Lord. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. This is the Lord, so it's really not up to us to decide whether she goes or stays. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be the master's son's wife, as the Lord hath spoken." And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard these words, he worshipped the Lord, bowing himself to the earth. In this one little episode, there is so much talk about the Lord. Actually, more than a lot of these other episodes, because it's all about him, isn't it? And letting him take care of the little things and the big things of life. Verse 53, "And the servant brought forth jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things," which Laban, I'm sure, turned around into something else a little diabolical, because we know a little about him from the rest of the story, don't we? Mm-hmm. Verse 54, "And they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night, and they rose up in the morning and said, Send me away unto my master. I'm leaving now. But her brother and her mother said unto them, Let the damsel abide with us a few days, that at least 10. After that she shall go." Now, is this unreasonable? We're sending her away. When are we going to see her again? Never. Odds are what? Never. Now, some punk kid from Rebecca's going to come up in a few years and cause all kind of problems. But to see Rebecca's at least 10 days so she can hang out with her friends and do this and then and that became a decision for who? Rebecca. Verse 56. "And he said unto them, Hinder me not, seeing the Lord hath prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, We will call the damsel and inquire of her mouth. And they called Rebecca and said, Wilt thou go with this man? And she said, Yeah, I will go. Because she too knows that this is all of who? This is all of the Lord. And they sent away Rebekah their sister and her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister. Be thou the mother of thousands of millions. That happened. And let thy seed possess the gate of those that hate them. Which is the same thing that was said earlier that God said to Abraham. How did she know that? How did they know that? Common blessing, I guess. The Lord is in all of this. And this was Rebekah's role now, wasn't it? To be the mother, in fact, of Esau and Jacob the father of the nations, right? And this is what it was going to be. And Rebekah rose, verse 61, and her damsel, and they rode upon camels and followed the man, and the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well Lahai-roi, for he dwelt in the south country. So Isaac's out there, kind of looking over his shoulder probably. It's like, Dad sent to get a wife, wondering how that's going. You know, it's kind of like when you get a mail order bride, and you're constantly going to this. No. That's not how it works. Okay. Verse 63, and Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. jumped off. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant took Isaac all the things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. God provides again, right? Lost his mother, now he has a wife, and now they get to have children, and the children will never be any problem whatsoever. You know. No such thing, happily ever after. But it was good. So we have him, again, doing right by others in their transactions and doing right for others, right? Just always make sure the right thing is done in every situation. Always look to God, always look to him to provide. And we have questions and we're not sure, who do we go to?
God.
Go to God. Last one. Genesis 25. Starting in verse 5. 1 through 4 are all the other kids he had. But, verse 5. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. And unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. So again, who's he doing that for? He's doing this for Isaac. He doesn't know how much longer he's got to live, so he's just making sure everything is right. He has a wife. He has the land. There's no question about who owns it. His inheritance, all the rest of the kids are sent off other ways. People like Midian. It's going to become a problem later on. But sent them off away so they know their place. Interesting part to me, verse 7. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 160 years. So Abraham, 175. By the way, before you start thinking, everybody lived that long back then. No, that was a well-stricken year. That was a long time even for back then. So God blessed him with a very long life. Verse 8, Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar, the Hittite, which is before Mamre. Who else is buried there?
Everyone's.
Yeah, Sarah is. And this, to me, is the interesting part. How old is Isaac at this point? Born at 100, so he's 75 years old. How old's Ishmael?
125?
Ishmael's probably about 12 years older, somewhere around there. So we're talking about 87 years old. Given all that Ishmael has been through, how in the world is he there to bury Abraham? Sometimes we just have to do what?
That's right.
What's right? And it's right that his two sons would come and bury him. And they did. Any differences they may have had, any problems they may have had, any complaints Ishmael may have had about his father and the way his mother was treated and all that kind of stuff, any concerns or fears that Isaac may have, oh, Ishmael's going to come back in here and he's going to take over this or take over that. Did they let any of that stuff get in the way? They just did what was what? Right. That's what this whole lesson's about to me. This whole ending section, which is so long. This whole section just seems like it's so much longer, but I think also so important. Because these are things we deal with. Do we deal with relationships with family members? Do we deal with bad blood and problems and issues in the past and people's feelings got hurt and these kinds of things go on? Does that happen in families? Can we do the right thing with them? Yeah. And can we do the right thing for others? Can we help them, set them up, and help them be in a situation where they can do what's right? And can we do right by others? Yes. And those are things we have to deal with every day, isn't it? And the bottom line, it's learning to do what is right. Do the right thing. That's where our faith needs to lead us. Is to every day, in every situation, trust God enough to say, I will do what is right. in spite of any fears or concerns or just don't understand what in the world's going on or why this should be this way or that or what that person did to me or who they are. It doesn't matter. In every situation, I will do what is right. And that's living by faith. And that's what faith that Abraham had. Not 100% all the time, but it is something he had. And it's because he let go of all those human things. Let go of all the things that hold us back from this kind of faith. And we need to learn to do the same thing on a very practical level, is live each day for him. Does that make sense?
But sometimes we need to say, are you sure that's the right thing?
That's right. Yeah, sometimes questioning is fine as long as it's not, no, that can never happen. But no, we got to trust him. And it is in the daily thing. That's why I think little episodes like this are so long in the Bible. It's like, hey, this is something we will have to deal with. So let's learn from this. It's in the details. So every day, just live for him. Right? Let's pray.